Candy, and today I'm coming to you with my October wrap up. You will have seen from my October TBR that my plan was to read 8 books. I ended up reading 20. Don't know where that came from, don't know how that happened. I just seemed to absolutely blast through books in the last couple of weeks of the month. So I'm going to go over them fairly quickly because I don't want this to be a really long video, because all my videos have been quite long recently and that's kind of annoying. We're back in this setup because I cannot be bothered to sit up over there. I'm tired, I'm sore, and I just want to get this filmed so that I can get the books up onto my shelves. So I'm just going to run through, I think this is roughly in the order that I read the books, so I'll give you a quick rundown if I can remember of these books. First thing I read was Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have damaged my dust jacket, but it's okay. Oh dear. Bugger. Okay, so this was the first book I read this month and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It took me a few days to read, but it was absolutely worth it. I absolutely loved this. I really want to go through this again and tab it. And the dust jacket's on upside down. Fantastic. So while I fix this, Babel is about Robin, who is our main character, and he is brought from China, from Canton, to London to be raised by his guardian after his family has all died, and he will then enlist him when he's older into Babel at Oxford University, which is a translation school. This translation school also deals with metalworking, silverworking, and basically think Industrial Revolution, but it's silver doing the work rather than the things that actually did the work. So it's got that little bit of like mysticism in there, but it's basically a literary historical fiction. I absolutely adored this. I really want to go through this and tab this. I'm really gutted that I don't have the fairy loot, but hopefully somehow I will be able to get a fairy loot without having to sell my dog. Just kidding, I would never sell him. The next thing I read was Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is the book that the movie is based off of, and it is kind of similar to the movie but also not very similar to the movie. It was really good. I agree, someone read this, I think it was Leanne, had said that this book seems like it relies on the nostalgia of the movie, and I see the minute she said that, it just all clicked, the penny dropped as to why I felt the way I did about this book. And it's true, I feel like if I had not watched the movie before I read the book, then I wouldn't have enjoyed this book as much as I did. I really want to watch the movie again and I struggle to find it online, so hopefully I'll get to it. But basically this follows two sisters, Gillian and Sally, who are born into this family who are effectively cursed, so any man they fall in love with will die. And it's basically just following them through their lives. Mostly Sally, with like the little hint Gillian, and then something happens, Gillian kills her abusive, nasty boyfriend, and he starts to come back and seek his revenge, and the sisters have to deal with it. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this, surprisingly. Next one was another absolute banger, and that was Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. I love this book and I need the sequel now. I absolutely adored this book. This was so good. This is about a group of 5 girls who are friends. It mainly follows Neve, who is asked by Helena, who runs HMRC, to look after this child who they believe is the silly child. And find out what powers he has and why he's so powerful, etc, etc. And things are not what they seem, and Neve kind of has to go to bat for this child up against girls she once thought were of as sisters. Some of them help her, some of them don't, and I really enjoyed this. I can't even say any more about this, but I just loved it and I'm so looking forward to the sequel. Next I read The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, which is the 6th in my reread of the Narnia Chronicles. This basically follows our two main characters, Jill and Eustace, who end up in Narnia again by accident and are sent by Aslan to find Prince Caspian's son and bring him back to save the kingdom. This is one of my favourite, this is quite possibly my favourite of the Narnia books other than The Horse and His Boy. I just love the trip that they go on. I absolutely love the character they use as a guide in this. I cannot remember his name properly, or Puddleglum. Puddleglum is his name, and he's a marshwiggle. It just occurred to me. He is one of my favourite characters ever. Just, I don't know why, he's just, I absolutely love him as a character. I love the dynamic of the trio as they go to find Prince Caspian's son, and I think that the way it's been done, the trip that they take, tunneling underground, it's a fantastic book, and it is one of my favourites. Sorry if you can hear the fan on my computer, it's decided to be extra apparently. Next book I read was My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This one I had a weird sort of relationship with because I got 70 pages in and was like, do I DNF this because I'm really not interested in the way it's going. I think it's not very well written. The characters are really basic and like just really annoying. Like the guy in this is all like, I'm big and muscly and strong and scary and rah, and it's just like, if I ever met someone like that in real life, I'd laugh at him. But by the end of it, I was crying. You'll see in my October reading vlog, I ended up in tears reading this because it was just the best ending. I loved it. It was so cute and I loved it so much. It was not like, compared to like HMRC and Babel, that it doesn't compare, but I had a good time and I ended up really enjoying it, and I'm still debating whether or not I will pick up more Tessa Bailey, but I will definitely be keeping this and rereading this because, like I say, it was a good time. Next book I read was I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. This was kind of the most disappointing read, I think, of the month, if I'm not wrong. Actually, no, it wasn't the most disappointing, but it was one of the most disappointing. I didn't enjoy this as much as I've enjoyed any of the rest of Alice Oseman's work, which is really strange because for a lot of people this is their favourite, so maybe it's just like a, you know, that thing where some people love one thing and other people love another, but the concept is really good, but I feel like this just tried to take on too much at once and didn't fully tie together everything for me. I will reread this at some point in the future. I know I will, and hopefully on a reread it will make more sense to me. I do love what she did try and cover in this, and I do think that it's things that need to be explored, but I just don't feel like this is the one for it. The next book I read was an absolute beast of a non-fiction, and that's Ancestors by Professor Alice Roberts. I ended up reading along with the audiobook for this, which is narrated by Professor Alice Roberts herself, and this is basically just, it does what it says on the tin, the prehistory of Britain in 7 burials. So it goes over burials that have been discovered, caves and remains, things like that have been found in the UK, and how it relates to ancient humans in Britain. How it relates to migrations, who got from A to B, how populations mixed, who invaded, like how communities mixed together. It's really, really interesting if you're interested in archaeology. And you know, Alice really knows what she's talking about, so I really thoroughly enjoyed this. Being a non-fiction, it's one of the ones that I'm really interested in, so this was a big win for me. Couldn't have asked for more, really. The next book I read again was another one that I'm not sure about, but it was a fun time, and that's The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. I almost hit myself on the face with that. This book, again, I feel like she tried to do too much with the time she had in this book. I feel like this could have been fleshed out so much more and been an absolutely fantastic urban fantasy. It could have been so much more than what it was. It was good, but it wasn't great, and I just feel like had she had a little bit more nuance in it, a little bit more meat, it would have been better. It's very bare bones in the story. By no means is it a bad story. I really enjoyed the concept. I really loved where it went. It read like a TV show that I would have watched, like Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, like all that sort of stuff. But adult, that's this in a book. Unfortunately, I just wish it had a little bit more to it. Next was another one that was unfortunately a bit of a disappointment. Again, and that was Anatomy, a love story by Dana Schwartz. Again, this is one where I loved it by the end and I'm excited to read the sequel, but I feel like there was, like, she balanced it not the greatest. There was, for me, some people might love this, and I'm sure some people do. For me, there was too much focus on one area and not enough focus on the other, and the magical realism of it came in at a point where she'd already established it very much as a historical fiction. And I think if she just bled the magic into it a little bit more, and fleshed out that side of it just a tad more, it could have been great. The relationships in this were fantastic, but again, I just wanted a little bit more. Everybody felt like they were sort of at an arm's length, which when you're reading, you want to get attached to the characters, and I feel like by the end of it I did, but for the first couple hundred pages, and this is not a long book, like it's just over 300 pages, and it took me till the end to be attached to the characters. So while I'm looking forward to reading the sequel, I just really think this could have just done a little bit more. But all in all, good read. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm keeping it. I will reread it. But just, again, a little less intense than what I was looking for. I actually compared this all when I was reading it to Kerry Maniscalco's Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and I feel like had it been more, I feel like Kerry Maniscalco took the same concept and did it just that bit better, which is unfortunate because it's a fantastic concept and there's so many ways you can go with this, because this is based in Edinburgh, whereas Kerry Maniscalco's is based in London. It is very different but very much similar, but I just think that this could have done, like I said, could have done just a little bit more. Next, I reread something because I just really needed a good reread after the disappointment that the last few books I'd been reading was giving me. So I reread The Martian by Andy Weir. This is one of my favourite books of all time. Like, it is up there. I read it every year. I absolutely love this. It gets better every time I read it. I love Mark as a main character. Mark Watney is such a funny character. Like, if him and Percy Jackson were in a room together, I would be dead on the floor because I'd be in stitches. This is about, I didn't even tell you what the other ones were about. Anyway, this is about Mark Watney, who accidentally gets left on Mars, left for dead, and to everybody's surprise, he survives and starts to think, okay, how am I going to survive this? How do I get in contact with Earth? And thankfully he's got that sarcastic wit that keeps him going while he is trying to survive this and get back to Earth. And I think this is, I'm so scared to read any other Andy Weir books because I love this so much and I don't want anything to ruin it. So just quickly jumping back to Anatomy and the X-Hex. So Anatomy is about our main character, whose name I can't remember, Hazel, who is high in society and wants to be a surgeon. So she tries to go to school, she pretends to be a boy and tries to go to the surgeon's college, gets found out, gets kicked out, makes a deal with the guy running the course to say, okay, if I can pass the exam on my own, you let women into your course. And he's like, cool, if you fail the course, then I won't be letting women into my course. And she's like, cool, okay, we'll do that. And then she enlists the help of Jack, who is a body snatcher, or as he likes to be called, a resurrection man, to get bodies so she can study it because she needs access to bodies to be able to do physiology and things like that. But there is something going on as well where these men are going missing, and you know, coming back with limbs amputated and things like that. But suddenly these limbs and eyes and stuff like that start appearing on high up members in society. So it's got that mystery in it as well, which is the part that I felt did not get sort of leaned on enough. So the X-Hex is about our main character, Vivienne, and she finds out her boyfriend is engaged one night and dumps him and then goes home and then is really upset, so she curses him with a Bath and Body Works candle just as a joke. But Vivienne comes from a family of witches and one of her ancestors takes this very seriously and so curses her ex, whose name again I can't remember, Reese. So Reese's family actually founded the town, and the magic that is in the town, so every year they have to come back, or every so many years, 25 years, something like that, they have to come back and recharge the ley lines so that the magic of the town stays as it is. And because she cursed him, it means that when he goes to charge the ley lines are then cursed, and it starts causing problems with everybody's magic and the things that the magic has caused to hold up. So like any buildings that were infused with magic and things like that start to crumble, so they kind of have to figure out a way to reverse this curse, and that is basically what it's about. And again, don't think they leaned into that enough. Okay, next was a book that I really don't know how to take. I think it's going to take a couple of rereads to actually get around this, and that's The Bash Rock by Evie Wilde. I got this from Pia, and this is one I really, really wanted to read, because the Bash Rock is actually something I can see from where I grew up. It is a rock that sits in the middle of the Firth of Forth that you can see from sort of Edinburgh side, and you can see from Fife side. I saw it from Fife side, and this is based in North Berwick with a cast of characters throughout the years, women who have lived in this house or been associated with this house, and the things that happen to them. Basically, this is an exploration of the violence enacted towards women by men, and the different kinds of violence and the different ways that that can exhibit itself through the centuries. And there is a thread that joins all these women together, but then there are random stories as well that just pop in that threw me out of the story completely. Once I realised at the end what it was about, that it was to do with violence and women, it all kind of clicked together. So I think I need to go back into it knowing that before I read it, because I thought this was like 3 generations in this house and how their stories tied together. It was not that. It was not that at all. So I went in expecting something totally different and just ended up confused. But as a look at the violence enacted towards women by men, and men who they trust and men who they are in relationships with, married to, siblings, teachers, priests, things like that, like that as a study would be perfect. I needed that to be clear going into the book to understand what was going on, and I didn't get that. Right, it's coming to it. This is possibly the saddest I've been in months. This was frustrating and angering and upsetting, and I'm going to try and keep it short. I've already ranted about this. Chloe, Persistent Bookworm, has taken the piss out of me for this, just a little bit. It's all good fun. But the next book I read, say it with me, Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. If you had told me this was her first book that she had ever written, and it had grazed the publisher's desk, grazed the editor's desk, I would believe you. Beautiful spread edges, beautiful cover, tempted us in with the story of Medusa, and it came crashing down in an absolute fiery death. This is not the story of Medusa. There are parts of the story of Medusa told from very, 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 very small parts that are from Medusa's point of view, which I feel is contrary to the point of the books that she writes, which is to give the women a voice, because you see a lot more from Medusa's sisters' points of view and their opinions of Medusa, and other people's views and opinions of Medusa, but not from Medusa herself. And then there's random, like throughout, there's random little spats of like things getting turned to stone to kind of add a layer of intrigue, and all it did was confuse me. I don't know if that's just me. I know other people, Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, absolutely loved this. So I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just dumb. Like, and then there's the bit that just ground my gears, and not in a good way. There are chapters that are very confrontational to the reader, and I don't mean like it makes you think about something or makes you like hold a mirror up to you. No, I mean it is confrontational to the reader. There's a bit where it's like, I bet you're feeling sorry for Perseus right now, aren't you? Well, you shouldn't. Like, you're a terrible person for thinking that he's a hero and Medusa's is the real person in this story that's been let down. Like, I knew that going into this. I've never been on Perseus' side. Like, Medusa got done dirty at every turn. I understand that, and the way you are coming at me in this book is not making me feel any sort of sympathy for Medusa at all. Like, I was on her side until you started that nonsense, and then I'm just like, well, now I don't care about any of you, and I don't want to read this book. I forced myself to finish this book because I was so far through it, and it was the biggest letdown of the month. I'm so disappointed with this book. I was so looking forward to this book, and unfortunately it just absolutely missed for me, which is really unfortunate. Like I say, there are people who absolutely love this, and I don't know if it's just I missed the point of it, or I'm just, like I say, I'm just dumb, or like somebody else who's read this book, please tell me, because I feel like the point has just like sailed over my head. Like, I went into this being on Medusa's side, and I came out of this book like, all of you can go to hell. I don't care. I don't care. All you've done is make me not care. Please tell me. If you've read this book, please tell me what you thought. And if I'm just missing something, please explain it to me, please. Because I wanted to love this book so much. I desperately wanted to love this book. I loved Natalie Haynes' other works, and I desperately wanted to love this because Medusa is such a failed character in literature. And I feel like in trying to give her justice, all that has happened is that you've failed her more. Sorry. So the next thing I read is something that, if you know me very well, you can probably guess what I have been rereading, and that is all of Heartstopper. Once again, I reread volumes 1 to 4 of Heartstopper to give me a brain cleanse after reading Medusa, because it was about to not even like put me into a slump, like put me off reading altogether. I know that sounds harsh, but I really had strong feelings about this book, which were unfortunate. So then I reread all of Heartstopper. 5 stars all round, one of my favourites for the rest of time. And as of filming this, all the drama has happened with Kit Connor, where thousands of people have been harassing him and threatening him because he's been videoed with his girlfriend in Paris, and it has forced him to have to come out as bi before he is ready to defend himself for playing a bisexual character. And to anybody who thinks that's okay, you've missed the point of the book. As a pansexual woman myself, who's been told that I wasn't bi enough to be bisexual before I discovered what pansexual was, to be told that I should not be with women because I had never been with a woman, and all that jazz. Can I just say, you're not on our side, you're not an ally, and you can get screwed if you think this is okay, the way that he has been treated. If you are a true fan of Heartstopper, you know that the message that Alice Oseman is trying to send is that you should respect someone regardless, is that you should treat them the same regardless, that it doesn't matter if they are gay, lesbian, bi, queer, pan, anything, trans, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. And it doesn't matter if they're out or not, because everybody should come out in their own time. Nobody should be outed, and nobody should feel like they have to because people are trying to ruin their lives. Okay? I think that's fairly simple. So anybody who's done that has missed the point of the story, and this, like, just read it again and pay attention, will you? Because honestly, the human in this world, I can't. But once again, 5 stars for all 4 of these, because Alice Oseman is just incredible with Heartstopper, and I love all of the characters. And I kind of want her to get a redemption arc in Volume 5, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like there's something going on with Harry there. Maybe not Ben, but definitely Harry. I think he deserves some sort of redemption. Anyway, after that rant, next I read books 1, 2 and 3 and the Saints View Cycles, which are Start War, Half the Battle, and It Ends with Violence. This is a reverse harem with our main character, whose name is Bliss, and she went from living in a trailer park, her brother at 5 years old, with a very abusive stepdad who was her mum's pimp and was looking at her like he was about to start using her for himself and for his clients. So her brother and his best friend decide to get her out of there, get her to her real dad, who is a businessman who lives in like the posh side of town, has a big mansion, things like that. So they go to him, he takes her in, and then skip forward 20 odd years, and she gets a call from her brother, and it is with a warning before she hears a gunshot go off, and she runs to his bar to find out what's happened to him, And then her and Nash, who is the best friend who runs the bar with him, go to his house, find him dead, and it all starts up from there. This ends up with this has got a fantastic cast, and it's a reverse harem. So you've got Nash War, who is the president of a vice president and then president of a biker gang, and then there's Vincent, who is an assassin for hire who's escaped prison, who has an alter ego called Scythe, who is kind of the one that does all the assassination. That has been the biggest problem for me with this. I will put that disclaimer in now. Vincent Scythe is said on page to have DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. I do feel like this has been done a little bit dirty from what I know about DID. Generally, people who have DID don't tend to be these scary assassins or villains, or want to hurt people, harm people. Most of the harm they do tends to be to themselves, and they tend to not just be two personalities. And the way that it works in their heads, it doesn't seem match up with what I've seen from DID educators. Dissociated is an excellent one. Their system posts on YouTube. I will link them below. They have fantastic videos in regards to DID, what the condition is like and how it's caused, and ways to interact with someone with DID. Because although yes, they are another person, they do have certain things that you do need to keep in mind, bear in mind when you are spending time with them, or if you're their friend, colleague, anything like that. And it's just a wonderful educational resource on DID. That is the only thing I had the problem with this one, because I feel like it wasn't handled the best way it could have been. But you learn to love both Scythe and Vincent, and so does Bliss, and the boys are all happy to share and have a polyamorous relationship, including War and Scythe who have a relationship. And I think it's very good also that although War and Scythe have a relationship, War and Vincent don't, which is a good side to the DID part, because although you might be dating someone in a system, you're not necessarily dating the whole system. It's just that's the only bit that was done well, in my opinion, from the DID front. But you learn to love the boys. The boys are great, her boys, and turns out this club also has a sort of secret club going on, and it's a beautiful reverse harem. It made me feel so much better about myself, because our main character Bliss is a bigger girl, and bigger, I mean, like, the doctor has told her, well, if you want to try having babies with your boyfriend, then her boyfriend, by the way, who she dumps at the start, and he's absolute trash, like unbelievable trash. She is bigger, and the doctor says that if she wants to get ready to have babies for him, not with him, then she needs to lose weight. And Vincent, Scythe, War and Nash basically tell her that's a lot of bullshit, and that she is perfect and that she is wonderful. It's just so affirming. You don't have this like thin protagonist. Like, this is the first time I've seen a protagonist in something like this that has been a bigger girl, and it made the way the boys treated her made me feel so much better about myself, which was incredible, and it just gave me a little glow that I absolutely loved. So I would look up the trigger warnings because it is a dark romance. There's a lot of murder, mayhem and all that in it. I've already convinced Tori to read it, and she is currently on book 2 and absolutely loving it. I think she finished book 2, but I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely look up the trigger warnings. But if you like something like that, it was beautiful. Absolutely love it. And there's a plot as well. There's actually a decent plot. So yeah, well done, Elthorpe. I forgot to say, Elthorpe, it's on Kindle Unlimited for free, so off you pop. But I'll finish this first. So the last and the 20th book that I read in the month of October was The Unbound, and this was for the Schwab Along. So The Unbound is the sort of latter half of this, which is a bind up of The Archive and the Unbound by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab. The Unbound was surprising to me. I got sucked in right at the start, loved where it was going, hit a snag in the middle, and I was like, oh, where are we going with this? We're just replaying what happened in the first one. But then it sort of managed to pull itself up at the end, and I actually really enjoyed how it ended. Again, I'm very happy, as with the Archived, The Unbound ended in a way that it can stand how it is, but there is supposed to be a third one, but these were published ages ago, and this is a republished version once V. Schwab started to get really popular. So the third one, which is called The Returned, is still on a TBD at the moment for the publication date, but this basically carries on from the archived. Our main character, whose name again I can't remember, Mackenzie Bishop. Mackenzie is a keeper, which means that she returns histories to the archive. Now the archive is a store of the dead, basically. It's where you go after you die, you go into your own little drawer, and it's like a library of sorts, and sometimes these histories wake up and they get confused and they get disorientated and violent, and they escape into the Narrows. And the Narrows is this kind of limbo space between the worlds, and it's the keeper's job to go in, get them back into the library so they can be stored safely again. If they get out from the Narrows into the outside, which is what they call sort of like the outside world, our world, that we interact with, they are hunted down by crew, basically, who have they work in a team and they deal with more violent histories, and they bring them back, but they've got a lot more resources. Mackenzie, she wants to be crew, she wants to be go up in the ranks, but doesn't really understand what that entails, and you start to understand as you go through this. And she moves to this building in the first book, and it's because her brother has died the year before and her parents can't deal with being where he was, where she meets Wes, who is another keeper, and they kind of share a territory and become friends, and it's fantastic. I just really like this. I'm really looking forward to the discussion about it on Tori's channel. I will link that below. Yes, I will link that below because I believe this will be, my video might be up before, but I'm not sure. If it is, then I'll link to this Schwab along for the video for this discussion, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and like I say, I can take this as it is, or I can read the next one if and when it comes out. So fantastic job of getting to V. Schwab for managing to pull me back in when I thought she lost me. So that's it. Those are the 20 books that I read in October. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I will try and edit it down as much as I can so that you're not having to suffer through a lot of my rambling again. But thanks so much for watching if you got this far. Let me know if you've read any of the books. Like I say, like Stoneblind, like if I've missed something, please tell me, because I wanted to love it. I really wanted to love it, and it just did not. It did not do what I wanted it to do at all. And it is my third or fourth Natalie Haynes book that I've read, so I thought I'd be well versed in her writing. Anyway, I'm going to stop going on about this book before Chloe probably wheezes herself from watching me go on about this book. Let me know if you're joining in the Schwab along the next month. So November, December, January, we are all reading the Dark Shade of Magic trilogy. So Dark Shade of Magic will be book 1, A Gathering of Shadows, book 1 in November, Gathering of Shadows will be book 2 in December, and A Conjuring of Light will be read in January. After that, I'm not sure what they're moving on to, but those are the 3 next books in the Schwab along, and hopefully some of you will join along with us. It's been really fun so far. I would never have read The Dark Vault, the Archive and the Unbound, without the Schwab along, and I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I can't believe I almost missed out on that. But yeah, so wish me luck for my November to be on, which, if you've seen that, is 16 books. So the fact that I've read 20 this month gives me the feeling that I could probably do 16 next month, especially since 4 this month were graphic novels, meaning that I read 16 novels. So here's hoping that I manage that. Wish me luck, and let me know again. Please discuss with me any of these books, because I need someone to yell about these books with. Like, I need someone to talk about this. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!